Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tyler Huston, and today I'd like to discuss with you breathing control techniques that can be applied as a critical and timely tool by first responders, healthcare providers, all support and essential services workers, and members of the general public in relation to respiratory conditions and illnesses. As a first responder and a nurse, I am certain that there has never been a more important time in history than now during this corona crisis to do everything possible to maintain our own physical and mental health while also ensuring the safety and well-being of our patients, coworkers, family, friends, neighbors, and our community. Over the next few minutes, we will be learning breath control techniques that we can implement into our daily lives right away as a crucial resource during these extraordinary and unknown times. We will discuss the science and research behind the biochemistry and the biomechanics of specific breathing techniques that improve alveolar ventilation, deliver powerful antiviral benefits, increase oxygen distribution throughout our body, strengthen both our respiratory and immune systems, and provide a precautionary barrier that can help to deter the spread of infection. It is our courtesy and it is our duty to educate ourselves and take every available precaution to prevent and control the spread of the COVID-19 virus. It is my recommendation that breath control therapy be adopted immediately by all emergency workers, healthcare providers, public safety personnel, employees offering essential services, and members of the general public, from young children to seniors, as a free, accessible, and renewable resource that has the potential of playing an important role in fighting the further spread of the virus and significantly alleviating the mounting impact on our hospitals and our intensive care units. This is not the first time that we have been threatened with the spread of a new lethal respiratory illness. SARS, the genetically similar predecessor, was another form of coronavirus that appeared during the 2002-2003 epidemic. We can turn to this existing research, the studies published on SARS and other similar respiratory diseases, since COVID-19 is too new of a disease for us to have any substantial research regarding its development. Previous studies demonstrated that nitric oxide specifically inhibits the replication cycle of SARS coronavirus, most probably during the early steps of infection, reducing the need for long-term ventilator support. The genetic similarities between the two coronaviruses support the potential for inhaled nitric oxide to provide meaningful benefit for patients infected with COVID-19 and inhibit the progression of upper respiratory tract symptoms. Research explains nasal nitric oxide is harnessed during nose breathing, and that nitric oxide has been proven to destroy influenza viruses, inhibiting the early stages of their replication cycle. Nitrogen oxide can kill the flu virus. This is consistent with research from the 1999 and 2000 that found nitric oxide has opposing effects in viral infections, including flu and pneumonia, and that it inhibits replication of a variety of viruses. Much of the worry around coronavirus stems from uncertainty. However, what is certain is that large amounts of nitric oxide are constantly being released in the airways during nasal breathing, and that this gas has been found to have important antiviral, antibacterial, and antimicrobial functions that defend against the replication of flu-like illnesses. Without the regular inhalation and exhalation through the nostrils, nitric oxide in the nasal airway goes unused. Therefore, the simplest way to naturally increase nitric oxide, or NO, is by nasal breathing. There's further research into the human rhinovirus, HRV, which is the primary cause of the common cold, that concluded humans actually produce more nitric oxide in response to an HRV infection, theorizing that the gas plays a key role in viral clearance or the body's natural response to fighting off infection. Research also shows that the rhinovirus known to cause colds and infections in the upper respiratory tracts will multiply when the nose cools down. The colder it is in the nose, the more the immune system is suppressed, which will create a favorable environment for a virus to reproduce. We do not know exactly how the coronavirus behaves, but we do know that it is airborne and settles in the airways. It is not inconceivable that a cold nose offers an environment that is favorable for COVID-19 to also propagate. Now I'm going to take you through 5 essential breath control techniques. We're going to begin by learning functional, conscious breathing that you can implement 24 hours a day, during rest, during physical activity, and eventually after some training throughout the night to protect our airways and ensure an uninterrupted sleep. You may encounter acute situations when social distancing precautions or PPE, personal protective equipment, have been compromised, where you will be required to break this pattern, this breathing cycle, and initiate precautionary countermeasures, which I will be covering that specific breathing technique a little later on in my talk. So our first exercise we'll start with is functional breathing exercise, okay? Breathing is our largest and our most important source of energy for our body. As we breathe, processes in our body instantly convert that air into instant usable energy. We breathe upwards of 30,000 times a day. Unfortunately, here in America, here in North America, we tend to be a society who encompass dysfunction breathing patterns, and on average are only utilizing around 40% of that energy, which means that we are talking nearly half of our body's main energy supply. We're taking it, and our ability to remain healthy and our ability to heal, and throwing it straight down the drain every single day. Okay? How we breathe is how we feel. How we breathe is how we live. Okay, so the first rule of functional, healthy breathing is the mouth is for eating and the nose is for breathing. Okay? Nasal breathing, we want to inhale and exhale through our nose 24 hours a day. Very important. Human beings were designed to breathe with their nose. If you take a moment and look down at your chest, take a big breath of air through your mouth, and you will see that your chest rises. Now take your next breath through your nose, and you should see movement in your stomach and your lower chest. Apart from its antiviral and filtration qualities, nasal breathing also facilitates diaphragmatic breathing. Okay, that's that's our main breathing muscle, and that's what we use to bring the air deep, low down into our lungs. The diaphragm is our main breathing muscle, assisting our lungs in performing functional respiration. And as our heart acts as a pump for the circulatory system, our diaphragm acts as a pump to our lymphatic system, in turn increasing immune functions. 70% of the oxygen exchange that happens in the lower 30% of the lobes of the lungs. Okay? Individuals breathing through their mouths shallowly into their upper chest are not allowing themselves full access to healthy, functional breathing and the benefits that come along with it. We're going to split the breath now into 3 separate phases: the inhale, the controlled pause, and the exhale. The first phase being the inhale. So what we want to do is we want to have good posture. We're sitting up straight, or sitting in your chair, standing up. You're always leading with your breath, but you're going to inhale down into the lower lobes of your lungs, okay? And this is going to be a deep breath. but the deep breath, the definition of deep breath means the distance from the top of something to the bottom, okay? So deep breath doesn't mean into your chest, big open barrel chest. Deep breath means you want to try to pull that air as low down into our lungs as we can to get proper diffusion in our lungs, okay? So I want you to think of filling up a water bottle, okay? So we're going to fill the water bottle, and it starts at the bottom. You're going to fill bottom to top. So you can inhale, filling bottom to top, okay? A second aspect, that as well as filling bottom to top, we're going to expand horizontally, okay? And this is very important. Think about maybe your pet cat or your pet dog. Think about when you see them breathing, they don't breathe from just their belly to the floor, but when you see them breathing, they're breathing from the spine outwards, okay? This goes the same with every mammal on the face of the planet, besides a lot of us human beings who've developed dysfunctional breathing patterns, okay? So we're going bottom to top, but we're also expanding with horizontal expansion, okay? Horizontal or 360 breathing. So as you inhale, your ribs, your lower floating ribs, if you can put your hands on your ribs, should be moving outwards, expanding laterally on inhale, and then contracting laterally on exhale, okay? Inhale, top to bottom outwards. Exhale, getting that lateral contraction inwards, okay? During the inhale, we're going top to bottom, bottom to top, expanding horizontally. But as we're nearing the top, we want to be sure not to go too far, okay? We don't want to expand to the point where our clavicular muscles begin to raise, okay? Begin to rise. We don't want our shoulders, any movement in our shoulders at all, okay? If we think about it, that's 30,000 times a day that we're unnecessarily adding stress and tension to our shoulders, okay? So we're gonna inhale, bottom to top, getting that lateral expansion, stopping at the right point before we start activating our shoulders. And at this point, we're gonna move in to the second stage, being the controlled pause, okay? And this is very important. The controlled pause is allowing a full second where the majority of the diffusion takes place between the air we breathe and the bloodstream. Not only does this pause allow for optimal oxygen uptake into the bloodstream, but it also sets up to transition smoothly back into the exhale, okay? So at the top of the breath, we're gonna add a pause, but we don't want it to be a hard stop, okay? So think of throwing a tennis ball up in the air. Throw it up as that 1 second of weightlessness before it drops down, okay? Everything is smooth and breathing, okay? Smooth, like rolling hills or like rolling waves. Name of the game is about that, just that's flowing, smooth rhythm, okay? That, another way you can think of that pause is it gives us the opportunity to transition back into our exhale, okay? So that's where we're at now. That's the next phase, is our exhalation. Bring the air in, stopping at the top, short pause, and then smooth transition into the exhale. The key to relaxation is in the exhalation, okay? And what that is simply means it's a very simple mechanics of it. It's a very simple movement that ensures that's happening, okay? One of them is as we prolong that exhale, okay? So we want to think of about a 4-second inhale to a 6-second exhale, okay? About a 1 to 1.5 ratio, which will give us about 6 breaths per minute cadence. That's ideal. That's what we want to focus on, okay? So as we exhale and as we prolong or drag out that exhale, what we're doing is that activates the vagus nerve, which starts in our brainstem and travels and connects to every single major organ in our body. It connects to our face, it connects to our heart, lungs, even our intestines, okay? It's a 10th cranial nerve, and it's responsible for then elbowing our parasympathetic nervous system, and that's what activates our rest and digest. Okay, so that's what takes us out of fight or flight mode and puts us into rest and digest. Okay, so that's where balance comes from, and that's where relaxation comes from. Okay, so at the end of that exhale, we're inhaling for 4 seconds, pause, exhaling for 6. The third part and final part is our transition, going back in to the inhale. Okay, so rolling waves, smooth at the top and smooth at the bottom. Okay, so pretend we'll use this cadence if you can hear that sound. This is our exaggerated, prolonged exhale. This is our inhale. Short pause at the top, going into our exhale. What I want you to think of it is leading into every situation in life with your breath, okay? If you lead with your breath, your body will follow right behind and your mind will follow right behind that, okay? What I mean by that is, hopefully you can see this, but the top line is our breath, okay? Smooth, rolling hills, rolling waves. Our second line, that's our body. Second line reflects our pulse or our heartbeat. And through respiratory sinus arrhythmia, on inhale, our pulse will go up, and on exhale, our pulse will slow down. Okay? So we do have control over our pulse, over our heartbeat through our breath. And the third line, that being our mind, okay? Lead with our breath, the body follows right behind that, and the mind will follow right behind that, bringing with it emotional regulation and calm. Okay? So that's our daily functional breathing. We're going to move along now into our next exercise, and this one's a breathlessness test, okay? So one of the symptoms of COVID-19 is breathlessness. Since 1975, researchers have known that your breath hold time while at rest is an accurate measurement of your respiratory health and indicator of respiratory function. If your breathing becomes labored, your breath hold time will be reduced. When measuring your breath hold time, also referred to as body oxygen level test or BOLT score from the Oxygen Advantage, or a controlled pause from the Buteyko method, you are waiting to feel the body's first distinct response or sign telling you to breathe. Okay, so I'll go through it with you once, and it's a very simple technique. Normal breath in through the nose. Normal breath out through the nose. You want to pitch the nose and hold the nose, okay? You're going to hold the nose. This is not a breath holding contest, okay? Not in any way, so I don't want you turning blue in your chair. But what this measures and what you're looking for is the body's first distinct sign telling you to breathe, okay? It might be an involuntary muscle of your diaphragm or the breathing muscles in your throat, or it might just be that sudden, real, distinct urge that's telling you to take a breath, okay? So what this test does is, why we do it is, it's a good measurement and an accurate measurement of respiratory function, respiratory health, okay? So healthy, active respiratory health, what you're looking for is a controlled pause of around 20 to 25 seconds, okay? Ideally, through training and through exercise, you want to get up to around 40 seconds. That's an absolute ideal breathlessness test. And the most important, most accurate time to do this is first thing in the morning when you wake up, because you're not metabolizing, your pulse is low from sleeping. So it's the most accurate time to take your score. In these coming days and weeks and months, it'll be very important just to keep checking, okay, keep testing, and keep seeing if you are beginning to experience symptoms, or it's just a good way to just keep building your progress as you develop through the breath control program and training. Okay, so the next exercise that I want to show you are just a series of small sequential breath holds. Okay, so again, very simple technique. This is for if you're experiencing symptoms, though. This exercise is not a substitute for seeking medical help. I want to make sure that is clear. But anytime you have respiratory symptoms such as coughing, wheezing, or breathlessness, a good way to help control your breathing is to perform small sequential breath holds. Okay, so very simple. We're going to take a normal breath in through the nose, normal breath out through the nose. We're going to pinch our nose and hold our nose for about 5 seconds. 2, 3, 4, 5. Release the nose, making certain that when you begin breathing, you're taking that first breath of air in through the nose. Okay, you're clearing out that nitric oxide that's pooling up in your nasal cavities, and you're bringing that down deep into your lungs. Okay, after you begin to breathe normally again for about 10 seconds, and then repeat. Normal breath in, normal breath out, emptying the lungs. Pinch your nose, hold the nose, 5 seconds, and then resume breathing normally for another 10 seconds and begin again. You want to continue with this exercise for up to 10 minutes hourly as symptoms persist. Okay, I know that sounds like a lot, but if you're experiencing any of these symptoms, okay, and this comes with with asthma, it comes with a lot of different respiratory diseases, respiratory illnesses. But if you're experiencing that breathlessness, okay, that impaired respiratory functioning, the worst thing you can do is begin breathing faster, harder into your lungs, okay, or into your upper chest, because what that does, that will create bronchoconstriction, and that will make your symptoms worse, okay? So what you want to do is continue with this exercise, but the amount of time that you're retaining your breath should be about half the time of the breathlessness test that we did in the last exercise, okay? So if your breathlessness test is 15 seconds, or if it's 20 seconds, then you want to hold it for 10 seconds, okay? You want to make sure it's half the time, because we want to control breathing, but we don't want to labor your breathing or create any anxiety, which will in turn feed into the symptoms, okay? This technique is not only useful as an emergency exercise for respiratory symptoms, but it is also very powerful in assisting with acute panic or anxiety attacks when control over the breath has become lost and overbreathing agitates the mind. Okay, we're going to move now into our next technique, similar to the one that we just went through, but this one is called breathe slow and low. And what we're going to do is, another word for this kind of training is hypercapnic hypoxic training, which just simply means we're increasing the CO2 buildup in our body with a lower volume of oxygen intake, okay? So if you're experience breathlessness and feeling that you're not getting enough air, people normally breathe with their mouth, okay? Breathe shallow to the upper chest, and they breathe faster. The harder you breathe, like I mentioned, the more you will contribute to bronchoconstriction. This is very common in people with asthma who may feel short of breath or feel like they are suffocating. So they begin to breathe harder, which causes airways to cool and dry out, which leads to airway narrowing. With the progression of COVID-19, one of the symptoms is that blood oxygen saturation decreases. This breath control technique will increase oxygen uptake in the bloodstream by 10 to 15%. For further information and to dig deeper, YouTube the oxyhemoglobin dissociative curve, okay? And this explains the importance of CO2 in your bloodstream. I'll do a quick description for what's happening. So what we're doing, what this exercise is we are slowing down the speed in which the air is entering into our nostrils, okay? In our functional breathing exercise, we learn the proper technique, how to bring that air down to our lower lobes, okay? What we're doing now, this is a focus and a concentration exercise as well. We're putting all of our focus into simply slowing down the speed in which the air enters in through our nasal passage, okay, into our nose. We're keeping with that 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out cadence timing, okay? Because again, that 6 breaths a minute is about an ideal pattern that we want to stay at. But what we're doing is we're increasing. You want to breathe lightly. You want to slow down your breath. You want to put all your focus on just feeling that cool air enter into your nose, and then feeling that slightly warmer air as it's leaving through your nose. Okay. The objective here is to maintain that hunger, that urge to breathe, or that desire to take a deeper breath, but you're not going to. You want to maintain that air hunger in order to increase the CO2 in your bloodstream. And when you do that, CO2 rises, it pushes the pH in your bloodstream down. And what this does is this causes a shift in that oxyhemoglobin dissociative curve. Okay? When that shift happens, what it does is that the hemoglobin in our body are responsible for carrying all the oxygen around throughout our bloodstream. Okay, they're the transport. The more carbon dioxide in our body and the pH level goes down, the more that hemoglobin releases all those molecules of oxygen. Okay, the more oxygen that we have in our body, the more we're over breathing, the tighter that affinity comes. Okay, the tighter that bond is between the oxygen and the hemoglobin, and the less it's released into the system. Okay. This nasal breathing technique, as I mentioned, that we're focusing on bringing the air in through the nose, the cool air, and the warmer, more humid air on the way out. This technique will retain moisture loss by 42% by the filtration of water particles. Okay, think about the importance of this in the time we're in right now. Okay. COVID-19 is transmitted via airborne water particles when people cough, sneeze, and yes, breathe. When exhaling through your mouth, you are essentially like an aerosol can spraying water particles into the air, 1.5 to 2 meters. If another person is within this proximity, they can inhale these particles into their body, and the virus then has the opportunity to replicate. When out in public, or in a situation where social distancing is compromised or the proper personal protective equipment, PPEs, are not available, reduce the volume of air taken into your lungs by slowing down your breathing, breathing softly through your nose, or even holding your breath. The slower we breathe also increases the concentration of nitric oxide being taken into our lungs. As we previously discussed, nitric oxide is a very important substance produced in large quantities in the nasal sinuses. That was discovered in the mid-1990s when we inhale through our nose. Nitric oxide accompanies the inhaled air in order to dilate the bronchial tubes to allow the air to pass through and be transferred to our blood more easily. So not only is the carbon dioxide increasing the oxygen uptake into our bloodstream, but now the nitric oxide is dilating all your vessels, increasing the spread of the oxygen, distributing it throughout your lungs and the rest of the body. Okay, increasing the oxygen uptake to 10 to 15% into the bloodstream and improving the delivery of oxygen to the cells of the body. When we breathe in through the mouth, the air is not spiked with this important substance with nitric oxide or carbon dioxide. Another powerful function of nitric oxide are its antimicrobial properties, which kills viruses and bacteria that have escaped from the cilia inside our nose and throat. COVID-19 has an impact COVID-19 has an impact on the production of surfactant in the lungs. Yet another crucial role that inhaled nitric oxide provides is the ability to influence the production of surfactant for helping to maintain functional movement and the elasticity of our lungs. Okay. There are new testing, trials, and patents that are currently happening right now in the United States and in several other countries in the world, where you'll see that these trials are looking at the benefits of inhaled nitric oxide as a potent treatment for COVID-19. This powerful molecule is produced in our nasal cavity naturally, and by utilizing breath control therapy techniques, you can harness these benefits. The only factor to be discovered that can influence the production of nitric oxide within our nasal cavity is through vibrations caused by humming. Okay, so this last technique is simple techniques, and all it does is strengthen or enforce that last technique that we did, where we're breathing low into our lungs, we're breathing slowly, and we're breathing quietly. Okay, this time we're still keeping that 4 and 6. Inhaling for 4, short pause, that on the exhale, you're just going to hum or you're going to vibrate, and it's that vibration that causes a significant spike in the increase of nitric oxide. Okay. A 2005 review of nasal nitric oxide health and disease found that humming creates 7 times more nitric oxide than normal exhalation. This is thought to be due to oscillations in the air, which accelerate the exchange of air between the sinuses and the nasal cavity. Evidence suggests that the humming is effective in emptying the paranasal sinuses of accumulated NO, leading to far greater production of the gas. The mechanism of COVID-19 is still unknown, and it would be negligent to state that nasal breathing and breath control therapy will kill the virus. However, it has been consistently proven that specific nasal breathing techniques lead to better overall physical and mental health. And it makes logical sense, given that the primary defense to airborne viruses is in the nose and not through the mouth, that breathing through the nose can support the body's natural resistance to the infection. Nasal breathing is not only a feasible personal protective strategy to help prevent infection of COVID-19 virus, but also an effective strategy to potentially reduce transmission and effectively slow down the spread of the virus. It is important to note that breath control therapy is not a substitute for preventative measures such as washing hands, social distancing, and wearing a mask where applicable, or other PPE equipment where applicable, but used as a supplemental precaution. Okay, another available preventative measure we can all take. I'd like to encourage that you take the time to practice the exercises and thoroughly learn these breath control techniques for yourself, and then take that knowledge and share it with your family, your friends, your coworkers, your patients, and to those you protect and provide care for. You can continue to contribute and raise awareness by sharing the information in this video online in an effort to increase the efficacy in deterring the potential spread of the COVID-19 virus. Individuals receiving this information will also be equipped with the tools to strengthen their respiratory system, boost their immune system, build mental resilience to control stress and anxiety, and improve the ability to recover faster in the event of falling ill. Thank you. From the homepage of breathcontrol.ca, you can get in touch to ask questions, access the scientific references, research publications, additional information, and details on continuing with breath control training from the comfort and safety of your own home via secure, encrypted telehealth platform. Stay well and keep safe.